In the desolate landscapes between Ciudad Juarez, and El Paso, where the border between Mexico and the United States blurs into the endless sands, stands an abandoned farmhouse harboring a dark secret for nearly 3 decades. The archives of the border police hold documents that many would prefer to forget. Photographs that send shivers down your spine and records of 12 people who simply vanished from the face of the earth. It was here, beneath a solitary mesquite tree, that a seemingly ordinary anthill concealed the key to one of the region's most enigmatic disappearance stories. What happened to the members of the New Dawn religious cult in 1982? And why did the truth remain buried beneath layers of sand and time for over 20 years? Today, I will tell you a story that began with an ordinary anthill and ended with the unraveling of a mystery surrounding an entire community that vanished without a trace from this world. The border between Mexico and the United States has always been a place where cultures collide, where rules are blurred, and people often seek a new life or disappear without a trace. In the mid-1970s, this region was even more isolated than it is today. Deserted farms and small settlements were scattered across the unforgiving landscape, where summer temperatures regularly exceeded 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and winter nights could be bitterly cold. It was in these conditions, in 1976, that a man named Santiago Mendez appeared, a charismatic preacher with dark eyes and a persuasive manner of speaking, who purchased an old farm about 12 miles from the nearest settlement. According to the county property registry records from May 12, 1977, Mendez paid cash for the farm, an amount equivalent to $45,000 today. No one knew where he got such money. In the testimony of a local realtor, Jose Garcia, given much later in 2005, he said, "He looked like a normal man, maybe a little more intense than most. He said he wanted a place for a spiritual community. I thought it was just another group of hippies looking for seclusion." Over the next 6 months, people began arriving at the farm, first 1 or 2 at a time, then in small groups. According to the memories of a local gas station owner, Robert Valencia, recorded by journalist Maria Luisa Cortez for the El Diario de Juarez newspaper in 2006, they always paid in cash, never said where they were from, and always bought a lot of canned goods, flour, and water, enough to feed a small army. In the official records of the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, there is only one mention of the group, a brief report of a routine inspection conducted in January 1977, where Officer James Ramirez noted, "Religious community of 12 people. No signs of illegal activity, very reclusive but polite." In those days, such communities were not uncommon. After the upheavals of the 1960s and the disillusionment of the 1970s, many sought alternative ways of life, new spiritual paths, or simply a place to hide from a world that seemed increasingly chaotic. Border regions, with their undefined jurisdiction and isolation, offered an ideal refuge. Even today, if you drive through these places, you can feel how the desert swallows sounds, how distances distort perception, and how easy it is to get lost or be forgotten here. According to a letter written by Elena Mendez, Santiago's sister, to the police in Ciudad Juarez in 1983, "My brother was always a sensitive child. After our mother's death, he became obsessed with the idea of the afterlife. He said he saw signs and heard voices. I was worried, but I thought it would pass." This letter, yellowed with age and almost forgotten in the archives, was only discovered in 2005, when the case was reopened. What happened on the farm from 1977 to 1982 is known primarily from documents found in a ceramic vessel beneath the anthill and from a few rare testimonies from local residents. Mendez named his group the Brotherhood of the New Dawn and established a strict regimen of prayers, meditation, and working the land. According to a diary kept by one of the followers, Carlos Reyes, their day began at 4:30 in the morning with a prayer to the rising sun. "We greet the new dawn as a symbol of our spiritual awakening. The teacher says that every sunrise is an opportunity to be born again." A local resident, Maria Hernandez, who occasionally sold the group fresh vegetables from her garden, recalled in an interview in 2006, "They always wore white clothing, very simple. They spoke little, but they were always polite. The women in the group looked thin, pale, but they didn't seem unhappy. They had these strange metal pendants with a symbol of the rising sun. It was just such a pendant that was found in the ceramic vessel under the Anthill in 2005. A simple metal disc with an engraved symbol of the sun with 7 rays. According to an analysis conducted at an FBI laboratory, the metal was an alloy of silver and copper, and the engraving technique indicated handcraftsmanship. In the expert's report, David Lee notes, the symbolism corresponds to concepts common in some esoteric teachings about the 7 levels of spiritual ascension. Carlos Reyes' diary, preserved fragmentarily, gives an idea of the gradual evolution of Mendez' teachings. An entry from March 3, 1978 reads, "The teacher said today that we must prepare. The world is moving towards the end of a cycle. He has seen signs in the stars and feels that time is running out." By 1979, the tone of the entries becomes increasingly alarming. November 10, 1979, the teacher hasn't slept for 3 days. He says that they are approaching external forces that want to prevent our ascension. We have started night watches. Who were these 12 people who made up the Brotherhood of the New Dawn? Besides Santiago Mendez himself, who was 42 years old in 1982, there were his wife, Consuela Mendez, 38 years old, and their 2 children, Miguel, 17, and Lucia, 15. Carlos Reyes, the author of the diary, was a 29-year-old former anthropology student from the University of Mexico. The remaining members of the group, as far as can be judged from the documents: Ana Bertrand, 33 years old, a former nurse from France; Tomas and Maria Hernandez, a married couple around 50 years old; Hazel Linares, 22 years old; Gabriela Torres, 27 years old; Raul Sanchez, 41 years old; and David Miller, 35 years old, the only American in the group. According to records at the border checkpoint, most of them legally crossed the border between 1976 and 1978. David Miller, according to documents discovered later, was a Vietnam War veteran suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. In a letter to his sister Susan from January 1980, a copy of which was found among his personal belongings, he wrote, "For the first time in many years, I feel at peace. Santiago understands what others don't. He sees the world as it really is, an illusion that we must overcome. The voices in my head have almost quieted down. The atmosphere on the farm apparently gradually became more tense." Entries in Reyes' diary from 1980 contain mentions of increasingly strict fasts, nightly vigils, and purification rituals involving prolonged stays in darkness. In an entry from July 7, 1980, he writes, "The teacher says that we must separate ourselves from the physical world to prepare for the transition. Today we started a new fast, only water and a little bread at sunset. I feel weak, but my spirit is becoming clearer." The last known visitors to the farm were representatives of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, who were engaged in missionary work in the region. Their report from May 1981 states, "Visited an isolated religious community. Were met with suspicion. Conversation with the supposed leader, who introduced himself as Santiago, was brief. He said that they have their own path to the truth and do not need external teachings. Noticed several emaciated people working in a small field. The place makes a depressing impression. There is reason to believe that it was during this period that Mendez began to speak of the need for a final transition." A fragment of a sermon written in the hand of Ana Bertrand and dated December 1981 contains disturbing hints. The teacher said that the time is coming soon when we must leave our physical shells, like a snake shedding its skin. He says that the signs are already clear and that next year there will be a cosmic alignment that will open a portal. We must be ready to go through it together. The last known contact of any of the group members with the outside world occurred on March 15, 1982, when David Miller called his sister Susan from a payphone in El Paso. According to her testimony given to the police in April of that year, David sounded strange, spoke quickly and incoherently. He said that they were preparing for something important, that soon they would all be free. When I asked what he meant, he replied that he couldn't talk on the phone, but that I shouldn't worry. His last words were, "If you don't hear from me anytime soon, know that I have finally found peace." After that call, none of the members of the Brotherhood of the New Dawn were ever seen alive again. Exactly when and under what circumstances they disappeared remained a mystery for more than 20 years. What happened next would baffle even the most experienced investigator. In the summer of 1982, around June or July, local residents noticed that there were no longer any signs of life on the farm. However, in those times and in that place, the disappearance of an entire community did not cause immediate alarm. In border areas, people often came and went without explanation. It was only when Susan Miller, having received no further news from her brother, contacted the El Paso County Sheriff's Office in August 1982 that the first inspection was carried out. The report of Deputy Sheriff Michael Jenkins from August 17, 1982 was brief. Visited the religious community at the given address. The farm appears abandoned. No signs of forced entry. Personal belongings, clothing, and religious literature remain in place. No signs of planned departure. The community's vehicles, 2 pickup trucks, are missing. Recommended that a missing persons report be filed. An official missing persons report was filed for 12 people, but the investigation quickly stalled. With no signs of a crime, in a jurisdiction divided between 2 countries with minimal resources, and with more pressing cases related to the growing problems of drug trafficking in the region, the case of the vanished cult was soon shelved. Over the next 2 decades, the farm remained abandoned, gradually decaying under the relentless sun and the rare but powerful desert storms. Local residents avoided the place, spreading rumors of strange sounds and lights sometimes seen there at night. As local farmer Pablo Escalante said in an interview for a documentary film in 2007, "We never went there. That place is death. Even the coyotes avoid it." Everything changed in March 2005, when the land on which the farm was located was acquired by an American real estate company, Southwest Development Group, for the construction of a new residential complex. Workers were sent to conduct preliminary clearing of the area and assess the condition of the existing buildings. On March 15, 2005, exactly 23 years after the last known contact with members of the cult, an opening occurred that overturned all notions about the fate of the Brotherhood of the New Dawn. That day was unusually windy for March. Sand swirled in small tornadoes around the abandoned buildings, creating an ominous atmosphere. Foreman Hector Ramirez and 3 workers decided to start by clearing the area around a solitary mesquite tree that had survived despite years of neglect. It was there, at the base of the tree, that there was an unusually large anthill. It was an unusual anthill, Ramirez later told investigators. It was too regularly shaped, almost like a mound, and there was no normal ant activity around it. When we started clearing it, one of the guys noticed that there was something under it, something solid. That something turned out to be a ceramic vessel, sealed with wax and wrapped in cloth. Inside were documents, photographs, and a metal pendant with the symbol of the rising sun, the emblem of the cult. As soon as the workers realized the potential importance of the find, they stopped work and contacted the local authorities. The next day, Detective Isabel Cruz of the El Paso Police Department arrived on the scene. She was 36 years old and specialized in cold cases. She had previously worked on several disappearance cases in the border region and was well aware of the history of the Brotherhood of the New Dawn case. In her first report, she wrote, "The location of the anthill exactly matches the description of a special prayer point mentioned in Susan Miller's statement from 1982. According to her, her brother said that this place has special significance for the group, as it was there that Santiago Mendez allegedly received his first vision." Isabel Cruz spent several days at the site, carefully examining the area with the help of a team of forensic experts. The vessel and its contents were sent to a laboratory for analysis, and the area around the anthill was fenced off for archaeological excavation. Interestingly, this particular area was especially fertile, despite the desert climate, which, as later turned out, had an ominous explanation. "We used ground-penetrating radar to scan the soil within a radius of 65 feet from the anthill," says archaeologist Robert Gonzalez in a report from March 22, 2005. The results showed several anomalies at depths of 1.5 to 6 feet. Given the context, we proceeded with careful excavation. That channel is not for everyone. What was discovered underground soon confirmed the darkest suspicions. At a depth of about 3 feet, Human remains were found, partially decomposed, but still identifiable. Over the next 2 weeks, the team discovered a total of 12 burials arranged in a circle around the anthill. Each body was buried in white clothing with a metal pendant on its chest. According to the preliminary report of the forensic medical expert, Dr. Laura Espinoza, from April 12, 2005, all the bodies show signs of severe dehydration and exhaustion, which is consistent with prolonged starvation before death. In each case, there are traces of an unknown chemical compound in the stomach and blood system. Additional toxicological testing is required. According to preliminary estimates, all the people died around the same time, about 23 years ago. Isabel Cruz faced one of the most complex investigations of her career. She began by thoroughly studying the documents found in the ceramic vessel. Among them was the diary of Carlos Reyes, fragments of sermons by Santiago Mendez, personal letters from members of the group, and, most importantly, a sealed envelope with the inscription Last Testament, dated July 3, 1982. This envelope contained a handwritten text on 5 pages, signed by Santiago Mendez himself. This content shed light on the last days of the cult. Cruz quoted the most important fragments in her report from May 5, 2005. "We have seen the signs. The planets have aligned as was foretold. The time has come. Our bodies have become too heavy to carry any further. Brothers and sisters, get ready for the transition. We are spending our last days in prayer and purification. No one hesitates. Even the children understand the importance of the moment. Tomorrow we will take our last supper and drink the sacred nectar that will free our souls. I leave this testament so that the world will know that we are leaving not in despair, but in joyful anticipation. A new dawn will come for us on the other side." As your mind tries to make sense of such testimonies, before we continue with this disturbing tale, think about what state you are listening to this story from right now. Are you near the border, where the sand keeps its secrets for years, or in the comfort of a city apartment, far from the desert winds carrying the whispers of the past? Toxicological analysis conducted at an FBI laboratory revealed traces of a powerful hallucinogen in the remains, similar in structure to DMT, dimethyltryptamine, but with some chemical modifications. In a report from May 30, 2005, toxicologist James Parker noted, "The compound has both psychedelic and sedative properties. In high doses, it causes intense hallucinations, followed by suppression of the respiratory center. The victims probably experienced vivid visions before losing consciousness and subsequently dying from respiratory arrest." Further investigation revealed that Santiago Mendez had some experience working in a pharmaceutical laboratory in Mexico City in the early 1970s. Among his personal belongings preserved in the abandoned house were found books on ethnobotany and pharmacology, as well as notes on desert plants with psychoactive properties. Isabel Cruz also focused on studying the identities of the victims. Thanks to modern DNA analysis and dental identification methods, it was possible to confirm the identities of all 12 members of the cult. Additional interviews with relatives, many of whom had long lost hope of finding out what happened to their loved ones, helped create a fuller picture of how these people ended up in the grip of an apocalyptic cult. They were all at turning points in their lives when they met Mendez, says the psychological analysis conducted by Dr. Maria Gutierrez for the investigation team. David Miller suffered from PTSD after Vietnam. Anna Bertrand had recently lost a patient and blamed herself for his death. Carlos Reyes was experiencing a spiritual crisis after studying shamanic practices. Tomas and Maria Hernandez lost their son in a car accident. They were all looking for meaning in tragedy, explanations for the chaos of life. Leave comments with your theory of what really happened to the Brotherhood of the New Dawn. Was it really a mass decision to leave this world, as Mendez claimed? Or is there perhaps something more sinister hidden behind these events? Gradually, as the investigation deepened, the full picture of the last days of the cult unfolded before the investigators. According to the reconstruction of events based on the documents found and the forensic evidence, the members of the Brotherhood spent the last week of June 1982 in intensive prayer and fasting. Then, on the evening of July 3rd, they gathered for a final sacred meal, which, according to an entry in Anna Bertrand's diary, consisted of bread, honey, and wine blessed by the teacher. After the meal, Mendez probably distributed the sacred nectar, a drink containing a lethal dose of the psychedelic compound. Forensic examination showed that all members of the group died within a few hours of each other. The bodies were carefully placed in pre-prepared shallow graves arranged in a circle around the sacred place, the point where Mendez allegedly received his first vision and where the Anthill later formed. One of the most disturbing aspects of the case concerned Mendez's children, 17-year-old Miguel and 15-year-old Lucia. Forensic analysis showed that their bodies contained the same mixture of chemicals as the adults. In her final report, Isabel Cruz wrote, "It is especially tragic that these young people, who had barely begun their lives, became victims of their father's apocalyptic fantasies. Unable to leave the isolated community and under the constant influence of his teachings, they probably saw no other way." Photographs found in the ceramic vessel showed the daily life of the group. Working in a small field, collective prayers at dawn, constructing simple structures on the farm. In one of the last photographs, dated May 1982, all the members of the group stand in a circle, holding hands with their faces raised to the sky. On the back of the photograph was an inscription in Santiago Mendez handwriting, "Ready for Ascension." An interesting twist in the investigation occurred when experts on sex and religious scholars analyzed Mendez teachings based on the documents found. Dr. Javier Rojas, a specialist in new religious movements from the University of Mexico, noted in his analysis, Mendez teachings represent a syncretic mixture of New Age elements, indigenous shamanic practices, and apocalyptic Christianity. His interpretation of the astronomical phenomenon of the planetary alignment, which did occur in June 1982, is particularly interesting. Mendez interpreted this as a sign of the approaching end of the cycle and the opening of a portal for transition to a higher level of existence. An important element in understanding the psychology of the group was the analysis of the isolation in which they lived. Psychologist Dr. Elena Castillo, who worked with the investigation, noted, "Geographical isolation reinforced psychological dependence on the leader. In the desert, far from alternative points of view, the reality of the group becomes the only reality. We see a classic pattern. A charismatic leader, vulnerable followers, isolation, a gradual tightening of practices, and, finally, an apocalyptic resolution." When news of the unearthing of the mystery of the Brotherhood of the New Dawn became public in June 2005, it sparked a wave of interest in the history of the cult and in similar groups in the border region. Journalists from around the world flocked to El Paso and Ciudad Juarez, trying to understand how such a tragedy could have occurred and why it remained unsolved for more than 2 decades. Maria Luisa Cortez, a journalist for El Diario de Juarez, conducted a large-scale investigation, published in a series of articles entitled "Buried in the Sands: The Story of the Brotherhood of the New Dawn." In her concluding piece, she wrote, "This tragedy occurred against the backdrop of profound social changes and in a place where life has always been on the edge. The desert keeps its secrets well, but sometimes, as in the case of this anthill, it decides to reveal them." The remains of the members of the Brotherhood were handed over to their relatives for proper burial. Susan Miller, David's sister, organized a small memorial service in El Paso, attended by relatives of several other victims. In her brief speech, recorded for the documentary film New Dawn, Buried Truth, she said, "For 23 years, I didn't know what happened to my brother. Now I know, and although the truth hurts, it also brings peace. David was searching for meaning and peace all his life. I hope he has finally found them." The investigation officially concluded in October 2005 with the publication of a final report signed by Detective Isabel Cruz and the El Paso District Attorney. The conclusion was unambiguous. The members of the Brotherhood of the New Dawn voluntarily took their own lives under the influence of the apocalyptic teachings of Santiago Mendez, ingesting a lethal dose of a psychoactive substance prepared by their leader. No evidence of external interference or coercion was found, with the exception of the psychological pressure to which members of the group were subjected over a long period of time. However, for many, questions remained. How could local authorities have failed to notice the disappearance of 12 people for so long? Why was the initial investigation of 1982 closed so quickly? Could some signs have been noticed earlier, preventing the tragic outcome? Professor Ramon Velasquez, a specialist in the history of border regions from the University of Texas at El Paso, offered context for understanding these questions. The early 1980s were a time when the border region was experiencing many crises: economic instability, rising drug trafficking, migration flows. All of this created an environment in which the disappearance of a small religious group could easily go unnoticed. In addition, jurisdictional uncertainty between the United States and Mexico has always created gray areas where law enforcement agencies operate less effectively. After the closure of the case, the territory of the former farm of the Brotherhood of the New Dawn remained abandoned. Real estate development plans were postponed due to negative associations with the place. In 2007, local authorities declared the area a historical landmark, and today there is a modest memorial with the names of the 12 people whose lives were cut short in July 1972. The legacy of the Brotherhood of the New Dawn extends beyond the tragic fate of its members. The case became a turning point in how border authorities approach the investigation of disappearances, especially those involving isolated religious groups. After 2005, special units were created in the region to monitor potentially dangerous cults and investigate unsolved disappearances. The history of the Brotherhood has become an important study in the dynamics of apocalyptic cults and the factors leading to tragic outcomes. Dr. Elena Castillo, a psychologist who worked on the case, published a book in 2008 titled The Psychology of the Apocalypse: Lessons from the Brotherhood of the New Dawn, which has become a standard text for specialists working with high-risk religious groups. Detective Isabel Cruz, whose meticulous work helped to uncover the mystery of the Anthill, received an award from the Texas Association of Detectives for outstanding achievement in cold case investigations. In her acceptance speech, she said, "Every unsolved case is an open wound for those who have lost loved ones. Our job is not just to solve crimes, but to bring peace to those who live with uncertainty. In the case of the Brotherhood of the New Dawn, we were able to give answers to families after 2 decades of questions." Even today, if you drive along the desolate roads between El Paso and Ciudad Juarez, locals might show you the turnoff to where the Brotherhood's farm once stood. Few dare to approach it after sunset. It is said that on particularly quiet nights, when the wind dies down and the stars seem especially bright, you can hear faint singing coming from the direction of a solitary mesquite tree, beneath which once lay the anthill that guarded the secret of 12 lost souls. This anthill, seemingly just a part of the desert landscape, was in reality a marker, whether intentional or accidental, pointing to the place where human faith turned into tragedy. It reminds us of the fragility of the human psyche, the power of isolation, and how the search for meaning can sometimes lead to the loss of everything, including life itself. The story of the Brotherhood of the New Dawn forces us to consider the boundaries between faith and delusion, the fine line between spiritual seeking and dangerous fanaticism. In a world where so many are still searching for answers to eternal questions, it serves as a grim reminder that sometimes the path to enlightenment can lead to very dark places. What do you think about this story? Were the members of the Brotherhood of the New Dawn victims of a charismatic leader's manipulation, or participants in collective self-deception? Could they truly believe that death would lead them to some higher existence? Or perhaps, behind this whole story, lies something even more sinister that we will never know? The desert keeps its secrets well. The anthill, which accidentally or intentionally marked the Brotherhood's final resting place, stood for more than 20 years before revealing its secret. How many more such markers, such invisible monuments to forgotten tragedies, exist in the borderlands, in the deserts, in the remote places of our world? And how many stories like the story of the Brotherhood of the New Dawn will never be told because there is no one to dig up the anthill and find the ceramic vessel with the last testimonies of the departed?